Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And Courtney, how are you?
I am, well, as you can all tell, my microphone is back this week. I plugged it in, so I sound better than
Ooh.
I do tomorrow when you listen to that episode. It's fine.
That I
Sorry,
haven't
guys.
edited yet.
Great. No, it's totally okay. You'll probably listen to it tomorrow. Yeah, otherwise, I'm okay. It's been a weird week. I got back from Tulsa Monday, like we talked about on Wednesday. It's been 3 days. And basically I've just worked. But I can't believe I didn't talk about on Wednesday, but I apparently did not. I went and saw Oliver for the first time on Tuesday.
I love that.
So Oliver is one of the shows that we are the publisher for. And so I
Okay.
knew all the music because I
Yeah.
listened to it 7 million times. And I love it. I'm such a dork. Oliver and Company was my favorite movie as a child.
Oh.
And so
Which
I
is
haven't
so
seen.
funny because and Company has a connection to this episode of Stargate.
Very true.
So it's like
It is
serendipitous that
kismet.
you forgot. Yes, you forgot to
Yeah,
mention it.
absolutely. Not my lack of brain or mental power. Very much planned this. Um, but yeah, and so I haven't seen the film. I hadn't seen the
Mm.
play. So I was like, I don't know what to expect. But it was so good. I saw it at the New York City Center, and I was actually really bummed
I was
because
gonna ask where you saw it because I was like, I definitely don't think it's on Broadway right now.
no. It's in New York. They're doing it at the Encores for New York City Center. Um,
Beautiful.
and I was really bummed because when it got announced in the season setup
Announcement.
for
Yeah.
announcement, thank you. For
When it
the
got announced in the
first
announcement.
when it got announced in the announcement for the first of the year at the Long Island Theater I go to sometimes.
Yeah.
And then last minute they removed it. And I was like, what happened? I was like, did they not get the grand rights? Because it was going to be in New York. I just didn't know at the time that that's why, but it makes sense now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I saw that. And then last night, because also in the announcements of the world, after Tony Noms came out, Danson announced that it was closing in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, I have 5 days to watch this in the 2 weeks you've just announced it's closing in. So I got last minute tickets and went and saw it last night. It's also very good. It was too long in my opinion.
Mhm.
But I mean, Fosse's got a long life, so he did a lot of
Right.
things, so I get it.
Yeah.
And the cast was incredible. The music was incredible. The dancing, obviously, was incredible.
Right.
But yeah, so I've been home for 4 days, 5 days, and I've seen 2 shows this week, and then I worked outside of that. So
Right.
that's that. That's what I've done. How are you?
I am having a week as everyone really. I don't. Hopefully, by the time you listen to this podcast, everything that I'm stressed about will have been resolved, and I won't still be living
Same.
in stress. But
Same.
we'll see.
Yeah.
But what I would like to share is something that happened before the last time we recorded, but I apparently forgot to mention it again because we prepare really, really well for this show.
We're very on top of things.
On Sunday was my kiddo's public speaking competition, and I feel like I've talked about that on the podcast about like the fact that I was getting to work with little
Yeah.
kindergartners and stuff. And they did not win.
Bless their hearts.
But part of it is because both of my littles went so far beyond the time limit they were supposed to be talking, which was fine because like my little dinosaur boy, he started off really well and then he got nervous. And so he took the paper that had his speech on it and then did his speech like this, which would be great, except that he can't read because he's 5.
For those of you not watching, she just put her notebook to her face. Like in her face.
So like he literally had his microphone and then his notebook or like his paper and he was
Aw.
talking like this, but he can't read. So he just kept trying to read and only being like, and if I dinosaurs, because he could read that word because he knew what it was.
Sure. That was the important word.
Yeah. So That was adorable. And his mom was so like grateful and excited. And everybody who was like judging was like, that was the cutest one for sure. Didn't win, but like
Mm.
the cutest one. And then my little Nora, she panicked, freaked out, which I was totally afraid she was going to do. She froze and wouldn't say
Mhm.
anything. But then we took her outside, and her mom and I just like talked to her for a little bit and helped her and prepped her. And then she went back, and at the end, she got up and did it again and actually got through it all.
Aw, good for
So,
her.
like, honestly, I didn't even care that she won. I was just so fucking proud of her for like actually doing it. But the other thing was the competition was supposed to be Pecha Kucha style, which I don't know if anyone has ever heard that word outside of education.
No, no.
But what a Pecha Kucha is it's a Japanese style of presentation. And basically, you have a PowerPoint running on automatic timers behind you that has only pictures, no words whatsoever. And all of the words of the presentation are what you are saying. And they're not supposed to be like, I am presenting exactly what is here. It's supposed to be like, because it's like Japanese style, it's like a picture that represents an emotion that goes
Mm-hmm.
with what you're saying. And like, so like
Okay.
Nora's presentation was about Irish dancing, and all 10 of the pictures were just pictures of her Irish dancing. And they didn't like fit exactly what she was talking about. And like Lucas's was about dinosaurs. So all 10 were just like really cool pictures of dinosaurs. Um, None of the kids who didn't go to my school did it correctly. Like all of them had note cards, which they weren't supposed to. So my kids were the only ones without note cards. Nora and Lucas ended up taking their papers up there with them, but my kids did not have note cards. My kids did not have words in their presentation. Oh, there was one girl who was a middle schooler who just straight up had the same PowerPoint on her phone that she had behind her and read word for word what was on it.
Oh, geez.
And so I was like panicking that I did
Did it
my kids
wrong?
I didn't know, not I knew I did it correctly,
Oh,
but I was like, did I do my kids a disservice by not letting them have these advantages that the other kids had? And the director of like the program came to me afterwards and told me that I was absolutely correct, and that if there was a prize for having done things correctly, I would have gotten it 100%, and asked me if I would be willing to work with her on a committee next year to make sure public speaking is done correctly through all the schools.
oh, I love that. That's my biggest nightmare. But that sounds, no,
Right.
you're absolutely right. Because especially like being so young, these kids have to like, when they become real people in the world, they have to follow rules. And if you do one thing wrong, like,
Yeah.
you go to
And
like high school and they're like, you can't write this down on here, and it's like now you failed, like, and so
yeah,
it's
and it's
important to
also like
learn.
the coaches clearly weren't either didn't care or didn't understand the rules or didn't read the rules.
Well,
And so, and honestly, some of them could have been all three.
love
But
that.
so we need to just fix it so that the kids are actually getting something out of it. And because it's just stupid. But then she also, while I was talking to her about job prospects and just career and future and everything. And she told me that if I do complete this certification for my ESL, like my TESOL degree, and have any of my classes where I can't roll over my hours from Thailand as my practicum hours for those classes, she will help me get a gig tutoring at the Catholic school, the local Catholic school that
Oh,
has our like refugee and ESL population.
that's so great. Oh,
So
I love that.
yeah.
No, that's very important. You did good work with these kids. I literally would have cried. I would not have handled it well as
I
the
mean,
child, not as you. You, I'm sure, did great.
I mean, I also cried because I was so worried for them, and then I got them all Smile cookies from Tim Hortons, which are they only
Oh,
so Smile cookies they only have for like a week out of the year, and all of the proceeds for the cookies go to like local hospitals and stuff. But they're just like really cute, big, colorful sugar cookies, and kids
yeah.
freak out about them. So I got all three of them Smile cookies, and all of their parents were like, "I can't believe you got them cookies! Like, I can't believe you're doing this for them." Like one of the moms was like, "You're not leaving, right? Like these kids need teachers like you," and I was like. I'm not doing
Yeah.
anything that I don't like, but it's so hard for me to hear that kind of feedback because I'm not doing anything that I don't think everyone should be doing.
I know, but like that that's not how it works. I mean, I have that same approach in so many things. Like all of the 75 jobs I have. And
Right.
like, I'm the same way. And I'm like, this is just how it is. And I actually had a similar conversation with my boss this week about
Yeah.
very similar things. And it's like, I don't understand why you wouldn't do it this way. And she's like, but also you're the only one that does it that way, which is why we're here where we are right now.
Right.
And so like it is very unfortunately uncommon. And you're killing it. You're a great teacher and you're changing the world.
Thanks. You know what else can change the world? Just a
spiritual
little,
quote I just remembered about.
a little bit of spiritual guidance.
Well, because I like to bring it down sometimes. It's a little bit more of a solemn.
You know,
But
I think we both actually need that.
I think so. It's very important. A note to anyone who needs to hear it. We don't get over or move on from our trauma. We are forced to make space for it. We carry it. We learn to live with it. And sometimes we thrive in spite of it.
I love that. And I think that's very true. I think that reminds me of something that I wasn't going to share on the podcast, but
I was about to say, I think I'm making myself cry. It's been such a hard week. But yes, I understand.
no, because on Thursday I was at work and one of my coworkers at the theater asked how I was doing, and I said I was tired, and she was like, "You are so young." And she was like, "I'm like twice your age and I work 3 jobs. I don't understand when young people say that they're tired all the time. You don't have to be working here." And I got so angry because anyone who can look a person in the face and tell them that without knowing anything about them that they don't deserve to be tired, that is just the most infuriating thing. Because first of all, no one who works outside of education has a fucking inkling of a clue of how much our body and soul and all of our energy goes into that. And also, like, bitch, I have depression. I'm always tired.
Right. Yeah. No, I also agree. I never understand that. People tell me that and I'm like, okay, talk to me in 5 weeks when I'm free again. Like, I don't have time for this right now.
No, and like, I'm not saying that my tired should be more or less than your tired. We're all allowed to be fucking tired.
Yeah, everyone has their own tired emotions. And like, we're both very tired all the time. And it's for very different reasons. Like, I could never be a teacher. I work one-on-one with people. That's it, which is why I'm doing my agency. But like, and I'm invested in that. So I'll spend like 12 hours a day sometimes working on stuff like that. Whereas you're like working twice as many hours as you're quote unquote working to actually get your work done and making a difference for these kids. And it's stressful and times are rough and times are expensive. And sometimes we have to do things that we wouldn't necessarily, that we're not passionate about to make sure that our lives keep going. And that's why we're tired.
And sometimes the things that you do that you are passionate about, because truthfully, of like the 3 jobs that I work, I love all 3 of them.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about theater. I'm passionate about teaching. I'm passionate about this podcast. None of them are things that I wouldn't do if I could do them. But also, there's only 24 hours in a day, man.
That is.
And I need to sleep like 10 of them.
Yeah, I haven't figured that part out yet, but maybe soon. Maybe.
You know what else I haven't really figured out?
What happened this episode?
Why do we have this episode? If you recall last week's teaser, I said that Courtney would love this episode. I specifically said because of who was in it, because let's be very clear. While the episode wasn't awful, it wasn't good. And it's only because of our guest star that it was even watchable. But so we are talking about
my socks.
We're talking about Stargate SG-1 Season 3, Episode 16, Ergo. It is 7.9 stars, which is lower. It's lower than the last 3 or 4. All of them have been above 8.
Yeah. Same for American Horror Story this week. Every week it is lined up. Is this the 4th week in a row it's lined up?
Yes, this is the fourth week in a row that the episodes. I thought you were saying no, it's not, because like it wasn't that good. Because I would have probably.
I also thought it should have been lower.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I probably would have given it like 7.5, not 7.9.
I was thinking 7.6. So like yeah.
But It is the first one in a couple weeks that's been below 8, so at least that's fair. It came out on January 20th, 2000. Same number one book and same number one movie. The number one song, just in case you forgot what time period we're living in, the number one song was I Knew I Loved You by Savage Garden.
Bless their heart.
To be fair, the only Savage Garden song I really truly know is Truly Madly Deeply.
I was about to say that's the only one I truly know.
But also it's Savage Garden, so it's clearly the most 2000s thing that ever happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was no real news that day, except for there was one newspaper article that I found that I thought was really important because I remembered that this was before we had news exactly at our fingertips all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So when things happened the day before, they were in the newspaper that day. Right? So like something really, really, really big happened on January 27th, 2020. But that meant that it didn't make the newspapers till January 28th. Not 2020, 2000. What am I talking about?
I was about to say. I was like,
It's
what year are we in?
But on January 27th, 2000, a trade was made in Major League Football, the National Football League, that changed football forever. Because on this day in 2000, Bill Belichick was traded to the New England Patriots.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one.
The big one.
Yeah, the schedule was released this week, and I heard the Bills are coming near me.
They are. The schedule was released this week, and the Bills schedule is garbage.
I still haven't looked at it. I've been working since it came out.
All of our intense games are away. Dan and I were like, if we have to play one more fucking game in Arrowhead Stadium, I'm gonna lose my shit. Fuck the KC Chiefs, like fuck them all. All of our home games are like weird games, and we don't play any of the like teams that we normally play. Like we don't have a game against the Ravens. We don't have a game against the Panthers.
They changed the way that
Dan was trying to explain that.
Up.
Dan was trying to explain that to me, and I go, it's stupid, and I don't like it. I don't want to play the freaking.
I'm also mad about it because the Saints used to play the Jets and the Giants, and usually they'd play at least one game here every year, and they'd alternate. And so this year was the one that they were coming here for the Jets. And I was like, I'm finally going to get to see the Saints in like New York area. No, they're not even playing in the area, but they're playing in Boston. So I was like, I'll have to go to Boston, I guess. Or New England, I don't know where it's at.
The season opener for the Bills is Monday Night Football at the Jets.
Yeah.
Which that will be great. We have a London game.
I'm going to try to go to that one.
We have a London game this year, which I'm like super pumped about.
I gotta look at the schedule. It is wild.
The London game that we have this year counts as one of our home games, so we have one last home game. Like we got home team advantage for London.
That's not even the right country.
No, but I mean somebody has to be the home team for
London. London can be the home team for London.
We're playing Jacksonville.
What? In London?
Yeah. Jacksonville plays in London every year. Whoever owns the stadium.
Are they
whoever owns the stadium? Yeah, whoever owns the stadium in London has some kind of deal with Jacksonville. I don't know. Jacksonville plays.
I knew we had one weird game every year that was like at 9 a.m. or something because of being out of the States, but I didn't realize it was Jacksonville every year.
Yeah. Well, I think there's 2 or 3 games in London every year, but Jacksonville's always one of them. And we have the Jacksonville game.
Should be home team,
right? But no, we have to play at Arrowhead.
Who's going to Florida? Who wants to go to Florida to watch football? Not anyone. Florida. Just put them in London.
Florida has 3
whole season.
Florida has 3 football teams.
Yeah, they've got plenty. They can spare one.
So yeah, Bill Belichick went to the Patriots in January of 2000. Weird.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one. Pretty big one.
This episode was directed by Peter DeLuise, because of course it was. It was written by Tor Alexander. It was written by Tor Alexander Valenza, and it was edited by Brad Rhymes. Our guest star is Don DeLuise.
Dom.
Sorry, I wrote Dom. I just read it wrong when I looked at my paper.
It's okay.
Dom DeLuise, he's known for The Cannonball Run, Blazing Saddles, Secret of Nim, and All Dogs Go to Heaven. That or those are the top. Those are the
So, fun
top
fact,
four.
Secret of Nim gave me so many bad nightmares when I was a child, and All Dogs Go to Heaven was my comfort film when I was a child.
I love
So,
that. I love that. I think it's really odd that those are the four that like are listed as known for.
fans.
Yes. Obviously, I made an allusion earlier to the fact that there was an Oliver and Company connection because he was Fagin in Oliver and Company. Um, Dom DeLuise has been in everything that you ever wanted to see. He has done like every he is one of the voices from An American Tail, all of the American Tail movies. I don't know, like if you don't have you've never seen the An American Tail, watch it.
I haven't seen it.
You've never seen Fievel?
No.
It's about this little mouse who immigrates to America from Russia.
I thought it was history when I was a child, and I hated history. Now I
But
understand that history doesn't suck. The teachers in my school sucked.
yeah.
But
Um, he was this was even better because he was directed by his son, which is genius. It's great.
I do love that.
I love that. If you don't know Dom DeLuise, you should. So,
Or you could go back, like a season, 6 episodes ago, 8 episodes ago, when we talked about Peter DeLuise, and I
yeah, if you find the first episode that Peter DeLuise directed when we did our deep dive into him, and then it turned into Courtney going on a deep dive about Dom DeLuise, you can just watch that, and everything that we needed to say, we already said.
Yeah.
So we start this episode with an uninhabited planet. On a video screen. Like we're not on the planet. We're looking at the mount footage of an uninhabited planet that Sam wants to go to survey for making a research colony because it looks like a fucking beach in Hawaii, and the weather is like 78 degrees Fahrenheit and the atmosphere is perfect, and it just seems like 10 out of 10 where they would want to go. And Jack is saying like a lot of really bad idioms for some reason. Like I don't know what was happening with the writing of Jack's dialogue in this episode. It was questionable.
Yeah.
Because like Jack always has quips, but there was like 2 minutes where he literally didn't say anything that wasn't an idiom.
I kind of zoned out on his speaking for a minute because of that.
It was weird. It was weird. But so then they decide to go through the gate, and Jack makes a whole speech saying goodbye in every single language that he can think of, which again, so weird. But then as they go through the gate, they come back out the gate without ever having gone anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly that's not true because everyone in the gate room is very freaked out, and there are like multiple melps in the gate room, and everybody's got their weapons drawn. And it turns out that they were actually gone for 15 hours.
Yeah, that's quite a long memory lapse. Feels like they were abducted by aliens. That's where I thought we were going with this episode.
I mean, they went through a Stargate. They were abducted by aliens.
Well, I know, but like you hear all these stories about the Greys abducting you, doing all these tests, and you lose time. So that's what it felt like. It wasn't quite that like cut and paste.
Correct. I was listening to a really old last podcast in the last episode where they were talking about all the different kinds of alien abductions this week, and it was very weird.
The different kinds, the like 5 kinds or whatever.
Yeah, so strange. After the credits, which happen right there, because we have a short opening scene again, they go to the infirmary and nothing appears to be wrong with the team except for the lost time. Like everything is fine. Their scans are fine. Their blood work's fine. So they're just like very confused. But it turns out that when the team didn't come back, Hammond had sent a second MELP that showed only the exact same picture. And they both came back right before SG-1.
Can you tell me what MELP stands for again? It's okay if you can't. I was wondering.
No, I should know this. You would think that I would remember it. I know it's an acronym.
Yeah.
That can't be correct. Mobile Analytic Laboratory Probe. That's where it
Mm,
comes from.
mhm.
Okay. Sorry, the first thing Google said was mutually adaptive learning paradigms. And I was like, that's
No.
interesting, but not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, not
um,
like not a similar description, but not the one.
yeah. So Sam then goes through the MELP footage and explains that there is clearly a deep fake happening because the second MELP showing the exact same picture is like nonsensical because the first MELP should be in the picture, and if it isn't, then at least tracks or some sign of the MELP having
Right.
moved should have been in the picture. Because fun fact, those are big ass machines and they don't just like
Yeah.
float on sand. But when you go through the video frame by frame, she discovered that there was a single frame of some kind of like weird alien planet that like was there before the picture got switched to whatever this deep fake picture is. And so they have some kind of advanced technology that is manufacturing the image.
But it
Um,
looks like a really dope place if it was real.
right. And they're all acting a little weird. Like nothing crazy, but like a little weird. They start talking about how great the coffee is. And the only reason I made any note about how great the coffee was because they were saying that the coffee was great because it had chicory in it. And I don't know if anyone who isn't you or me
Me.
or someone who like you or me or someone who has also lived and experienced the things that we have can understand how great it is the first time you have a cup of chicory coffee.
That's our main coffee source in Louisiana is chicory
Yeah,
coffee. And
my mom and I bulk order coffee from Cafe Du Monde to have chicory coffee.
I also bulk order I bulk order from Community Coffee. Oh my gosh, my fan just fell over and I'm gonna die of a heat stroke, so I had to pick it back up. Um, but yeah, I literally bulk order. We have K cups and I give one K cup to like everyone in my office so they can try it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you can have it sparingly though, because this is like gold.
Yeah. Ugh, I love it. So I only took a note of that because I was like, oh, of course it's chicory that's making the coffee better.
Well, I was watching it and I was like, oh my God, I need to order my coffee right now. I was like, I'm so thirsty and I need coffee. And now I've been
Um,
drinking it for 6 hours, so it's fine.
but also the weirdest thing that happens is that when Jack and Daniel are discussing how delicious the coffee is, Teal'c takes the carafe, takes the top off, and just chugs the entire carafe of black chicory coffee.
So funny.
And they they just go, "Isn't that hot?" And he goes, "Extremely."
He's so matter of fact. And like, I could not. But also, I was like, whatever's wrong with them, I'd be open to experiencing it.
And
Like,
they're like, "We're perfectly fine." And
yeah,
Teal'c's like, "Yeah, I feel perfectly fine." And Hammond just goes, "Says the person who just chugged half a gallon of hot coffee." What? Um, so then
wild times.
they split up and they're just hanging out around the base, and Jack is in the mess hall and he starts eating some pumpkin pie, and then he just decides that the pumpkin pie is the most delicious thing he's ever tasted in his entire life and just starts like picking up an entire slice of pie like a candy bar.
This is what I imagine heaven's like. You're just sitting around this table and you have the best coffee on the planet. You're eating pumpkin pie and everything tastes 10 times better than normal.
Right. I mean, that's the ideal, really.
Hmm.
But then Sam and Daniel and Teal'c all just like spontaneously meet him in the dining hall where he has a full like multi-table layout of just desserts. And they're like eating all of this food and talking about how it's the most delicious thing in the world. The part that is really concerning is that Sam is eating Jello as if she's never tasted anything better. And I'm like, it's just Jello,
That one, to be fair, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't that can't taste different. It doesn't
right?
have that much taste to start.
Right. And then Jack's like, you know what the weirdest thing is? I don't even like yogurt. I was like,
Uh, oh, Jack.
great. So they get called to the med lab during this feast, And it turns out that there was something in their brains that was so small that on the original scan, it just looked like an errant pixel. But then when it was in the same spot on all four of their scans, Janet like blew it up and it found out that there is like straight up some weird like technological device stuck in their brain.
Yeah, not great. Not
Not
great.
great. Janet says that it shouldn't be totally impossible to get it out, but like it's probably not going to be easy because the fact that it was implanted without a single like mark on the outside of their body or on the internal cortex of their brain is very concerning.
Yeah. Yeah. But then they just live happily ever after. I mean, look,
I,
I'm still sold. Nothing has convinced me otherwise.
um, so the device produces an electromagnetic field, which is like why causing all of their cravings and stuff, and why they're like having weird sensations and food is tasting better and smelling better and all that. So Hammond says that like just until they figure out what the device actually is, he's got to put them in quarantine. Just we don't know what it is, and we've had some weird shit installed
Yeah.
in people's bodies in the show. So um, then they're in quarantine and they just hear a voice that's like, this is so boring. Let's do something. And they're all like, the fuck is happening? Did you say that? Did you say that? And they're like, who's there? And so they, Ergo reveals himself. And he's like, hi, I'm the little man that lives in your brain. And
I could not.
And so Jack like calls one of the airmen over. And also, I just want to note that because I was not home when I was watching this, I did not watch it on my DVD. I watched it on Pluto. And
It's on
the
Amazon again.
is it?
Mm-hmm.
It
Remember we talked about
changes.
that? You told me.
Yeah, but then I checked and only like season 7 was.
Yeah, but then it was like a month and a half, 2 months later, it came back too.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I watched it on Pluto, which is fine. I guess now that it's back on Amazon, that is saving me a lot of trouble. But the captions on Pluto, when Jack said airmen, and called the soldier over, the caption said Kermit.
Maybe that's
And
his name.
it's not. Jack said airman.
I know, but I was saying maybe that's his name. He just didn't say his name.
Yeah, that man definitely did not have a name in the credits. Um, Also, I've had a lot of issues with captioning this week because I was doing speech to text for a book that my sixth graders are reading that is about Afghanistan. So all the characters have like traditional Afghani names. And so the main character's name is Fadi. And every time I was trying to type something and I did text to speech to like type faster on my computer and I said Fadi, um, most of the time Google made it say fatty. Sometimes it said buddy, but the one time it said daddy, and that was really too much for me. So
Yeah, it tried.
I just assume that Pluto TV uses Google text to speech in order to make its captions.
That feels like it would track. I mean, it's a free service, so like you
Right,
get what you pay for.
which is nothing. Um,
Same here though, so you can't complain about us either. You get what you pay for.
it's so bad. Um, so he asks the airman if he can see anything, and the guy's like, "No, there's nobody in the room but you guys, you fucking weirdos." And so they realize that this man is in their head, and oh my God, it really is back on Prime Video. That
I know. I
is
watched it yes this morning. I watched it this morning there
that is so upsetting that
and
I've
last
been
week.
wasting my time. Okay, sorry. I just fuck this. Anyway, um, oh, they figure out that this that Ergo is just the visual interface for whatever the technology in their head is, and But clearly it's some kind of advanced technology because they're all seeing the same thing, even though it's in their brains and whatever. So like, but Ergo is bored and wants them to leave base and see something that isn't this ugly room. And he's like, let's go explore. I want to see beautiful things. Please tell me your whole planet doesn't look like this. This is awful. And
I
then
feel like he's like the Jar Jar Binks of Stargate.
I had the thought when he was saying that though, that that is so true. Like all of these like different aliens that come to Earth via the Stargate and like are left at SGC and don't get to leave base have no concept of the fact that Earth is like a fucking beautiful planet.
Yeah, like we do have vegetation here and water.
But like, have you seen the floating mountains in China?
No, they're very far away from me.
I haven't in person either, but like they're
Oh,
beautiful.
yes, I'm familiar with their existence though.
Yes. Or like,
Also, can you hear this? They're like sanding something outside my door.
I hear like a faint background noise, but not enough to like actually cause interference.
Okay, good. Because they're doing work outside still, obviously. And then they're
Yeah.
like sanding something that's right outside my door.
No,
so
it just
I
kind of
wasn't
sounds like
sure.
it's raining.
Okay, well, that's fine. It's not. I wish it was.
So they're explaining what they're explaining the sensations. That's what I wrote. I don't know what that means. I just wrote they're explaining the sensations and ergo. Oh, they're explaining the sensations and ergo to Janet. That's what it says. So like they're explaining that the scent, the smelling things and the hearing things and like the strong senses are because of ergo, and they're explaining ergo, and ergo is trying to get them to like do things and like talking about like crazy like sensations, and tries to convince Teal'c to use the defibrillator on himself.
And he was like all in. He's like, okay.
And they're like, okay, you can hear inside of our minds, you can know what we're thinking, but we don't know what you're thinking. So how about you tell us? And he's like, tell me anything. I'll ask me anything, and I will absolutely tell you. And they're like, how do we get rid of you? And he's like, ooh, accept that. Sorry. But then
He's
he
like,
explains.
no.
He explains to them that the race that created this technology is him, and him are very evil and will kill them for the information in their heads.
Yeah.
But Janet agrees that she does not have the ability to remove the device. So Sam asks if she can study it and maybe learn how to turn it off at least, even if they can't get it out. But Hammond is slightly convinced that SG-1 has lost their minds. He like does not know what to do with them walking around base talking to themselves.
I mean,
Which
that's
is
very fair.
Yeah. So then Sam figures out that because this device in their brain has an electromagnetic field, an EM pulse should be able to knock Ergo out and not hurt them. And Ergo like tries to stop them and like begs them and puts on a whole like horse and pony show to get them to not. So they do, and he disappears. Janet says the devices are still present, but the EM field isn't. So it did actually work. But she and Hammond agree that they need to give it a week before they go back to work, just in case. Yeah. Which is so valid. Yeah. So she's doing like checkup interviews with them. And at this point, she's put them all in separate quarantine rooms, because the last thing we need is Stargate SG-1, like the SG-1 team devising a plan together on how to get rid of a situation that they definitely should not be getting rid of.
Yeah,
because that's what they do. So she's interviewing Sam for her clearance, and she mentions that she's going to take Cassandra out on a rowboat on the lake if Sam is cleared by the time that they do this on the weekend. And so Sam immediately starts singing "Row, row, row your boat." But then, oh my God, my microphone just...
You want to know why it's row, row, row your boat? Because it's public domain. They have to pay for it.
Oh, there we go. No, my
I
microphone
can't
did
hear
something
you.
dumb again. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, my stupid headphones were being dumb again. Um, so yeah, because it's public domain, but also like if somebody was like, "Hey, we're gonna go out on a rowboat," and a grown adult response was like, "Oh, that's great. Row, row." Like, what?
Yeah, that is a strange like
Strange reaction.
choice. Yeah.
Um, the more strange fact is that despite being all in separate quarantine rooms and not having heard this conversation, Jack Daniel and Teal'c are all also singing "Row, row, row your boat."
Yeah, because that's not weird at all. Not at all.
Nope. Doesn't remind me of like creepy demon inhabited children at all.
It's the horror. It's the horror part of our podcast. This one
Right.
scene.
Um, then so obviously Ergo is still there. And my favorite was Jack being so convinced that he wasn't singing, that he doesn't know how to sing. And then they play him the
Yeah.
video and he goes, "I would not call it singing."
Which is fair, but you were saying the same words as everyone else
Right.
in the round with everyone else.
And then Hammond is like, "Listen, this is a hot mess and we don't know what's going on, but technically you are compromised, and so you will be relieved of active duty."
Which like feels a little sudden too. Like forever? That's not that felt like forever. I'm sure he
No,
meant like momentarily.
yeah.
But in the
I
moment,
mean,
like when he said it, I was like, forever? That's a big change.
that is a big change. But no, but they weren't like relieved of their status. They were just relieved of active duty, which is easily able to be reactivated. That's like, it's not like
Yeah.
you're not, it's not like you don't get to be in the military anymore. You have been
Right, right,
discharged. It's like, maybe let's not send you into the field ever.
right.
And to be fair, if there's a
Which
weird
is fair.
alien in their brain and they can't get rid of it, then forever is probably correct.
Yeah, right.
So
It's not like
Jack,
an insane stretch. It just seems sad.
yeah, Jack gets obviously very angry that Ergo's still there, and Sam is like, but he can't help it because he's just the program, not the programmer. And it's really just so sad. But Jack is like angry because it's also funny to hear the way they talk about computers and
Yeah.
like software because it's 2000. And it's like January of 2000. So like this is only like a week out, 2 weeks after we
Like,
thought the world was gonna end.
I was gonna say we just survived Y2K. Like,
Correct. Like
we're still a little
literally,
nervous about computers.
and to be fair, based on television production schedules, this was probably filmed before the end of the world.
Right. So how are we to know?
They didn't even know if it was gonna make it on TV because TVs might have taken over the world.
Yeah. Maybe there wasn't a world.
So Sam then explains to Ergo the trap that the creators set with the pictures and everything, and they send a Melp back through onto the other planet. And Hammond requests a dialogue with whoever is on that planet, and Togar responds. And Ergo's very freaked out, and he's like, "Don't listen to him. He's a liar." And they're like, Togar's like, "Well, this is an error. He should not be able to interact with you. Please send them back, and I will absolutely remove the software because that's wrong."
So is Togar like another type of alien race?
Yes,
Is it like the Togar race, or does it have a race name, or is it just this guy?
just this guy,
Like the game master guy, gatekeeper. What was he called? Gamekeeper?
gamekeeper. Yeah,
Okay.
just a guy. I don't know.
Just a guy.
Um, and Sam is hesitant because Ergo is convinced that Togar will kill him. And then Sam and Daniel have this sudden realization of like what is and is not sentient, and the fact that like technically by being able to have these conversations separate from what the creator like wanted him for, even if he is artificially intelligent, he is intelligent and is therefore a sentient being.
Yeah.
Which is always interesting to see in TV shows how they do and do not describe sentience.
Yeah, it's very fun, especially like I know they've been talking about this a couple of years, but I've just been listening to another podcast about it lately. They
Yeah.
talk about how like plants scream. and talk and
Yeah,
stuff. So like, and I mean, we know that they're like technically alive, but are they sentient?
right. Well, and like the whole argument in the last episode about whether Chlorel or Skara has rights to his body because they're both alive and both
Yeah.
need this body. So like the whole concept of what is and is not sentient is it's so tricky because like on Earth we just like and there's like the level of like vegans and vegetarians
Mm,
and different like levels of who what you are believing to be sentient, but everyone kind of just like agrees that plants need to be
are fine.
eaten.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like people, and that's one of my biggest like criticisms with the vegetarian and vegan movement is because like if you are giving the same like if you are saying that a fish has no right to be killed because it's alive, but like so is broccoli.
Yeah.
And but so then it's like my theory on that is just that I'm a human, so I'm obviously better than everyone. Like, no,
Which
but
was
like,
the
yeah,
argument last episode.
right, right. But then when you throw in aliens and you have all these different levels of sentience and levels of language capability and level of technology and like we've talked about like primitive alien species versus advanced alien species and like but they're all alien species and like who is to say that anybody is the authority on sentience?
I think that we had this whole discussion about sentience in the past 2 weeks because assuming we survive Y2K, they didn't want the computers to be sentient and be like, look, we're just letting you know. We've made it past Y2K, but they're not sentient. You're still in charge. And I would like to have that same argument come up and talk to people about AI. I will now be using this episode as a reference
Right,
for all my
because
AI arguments.
right, because AI is terrifying, and I don't trust it, and it knows more than I do, but it doesn't have feelings, except for that sometimes it does, and that's even more terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't.
I'm I'm very wary about AI and I'm watching like a day of panels next week on it. And we've been talking about this since I was in law school, how blockchain and how like these blockchain contracts are coming about. And it's just computers are not people. And they can do a lot
Well,
of things, but
have you you've
they
heard of
can't take over the world.
Chat GPT, right?
After everyone else in the world did, but yes, I have heard of it.
Have you seen what is happening with the Snapchat AI?
I haven't opened the Snapchat AI yet.
Don't.
It makes me nervous.
Yeah, so people, all this stuff happened, where people were like, "What's the McDonald?" Like they were like, "Do you know where I am?" And the Snapchat AI was like,
Oh,
"I
I did
don't
see
have that
that.
information."
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Then how do you know which McDonald's is around the corner for me?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm just kidding."
Yeah, I did forget about that. I saw that.
That is fucked
Um,
up. I don't
yeah.
trust computers. And like Dan does not even have Microsoft downloaded on his computer. Like he doesn't have anything downloaded. He doesn't have anything that could possibly look at his computer on his computer. And I'm
Good
just
for
like,
him.
I have my location active all the time. Google knows where I am. I have tracking on everything I do. And he's like, doesn't that scare you? And I go, at this point, I'm already fucked. So I might as well be conveniently fucked instead of inconveniently fucked.
Right. Like I've taken so many privacy and computer law classes and stuff, and like there's no going around it. Like it doesn't matter what you do with your phones, with your technology, you're already like there. But also like if a serial killer kidnaps you, now someone can find your location. So like if we're
Right.
already on the like downfall of everything, at least we have one benefit left, you know?
I explained something. Oh, I was talking about homeless people approaching you in your car.
Mm,
And Dan was talking about like the guilt of like not knowing about if they're actually homeless or if they're just scamming you for money and like being a good Christian
sure.
and wanting to give money and blah blah blah. And I was like, see, that's very valid. And those are all feelings I have. But then you have to add the layer of the fact that I am a young girl who has been taught my whole life to be so incredibly aware of every stranger who tries to talk to me. And like if I open my window to give them money, are they going to break into my car, kidnap it, and like kill me? And he was
Right.
like, and he just was like, is that something you think about? And I was like, every single
Oh
day
my
of my
gosh,
life.
every day.
I was like, every single day of my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, do I have my location shared with him all of the time? Yes. If anybody gets into my Google account to know, like, if I ever go missing, someone will be able to find me.
Yeah, I mean, every
Like,
time I get in an Uber, I send my location to Rachel. I'm in an Uber for 5 minutes sometimes, and I'm just like,
yeah.
location. I'll be in a different state. Like when I was in Tulsa,
Mhm.
I was like sending her my location. I was like, yeah, somebody knows what's happening.
Yeah. No, my Google location is literally always shared, and my Snapchat
Mine
location
too.
is always active so that somebody knows where
Mine
I
too.
am.
Yeah. Yep.
But then, of course, computers are going to take over the world and become more powerful beings than us, and we created them,
Eh,
and that's
by
horrifying.
then, it's too late. It's fine. It's okay.
But so they go back to the planet and have this conversation with Togar that Togar can't just like remove Urgo from their brain and kill them because he is in fact sentient. And so they come to the conclusion that Ergo will now live in Togar's brain so that he can still be alive. And Togar is like mutually assured, like mutually beneficial. I can figure out what the fuck happened and why he is in error. And Ergo's like, I can make this little man not so afraid of exploring and learning things himself. And everything feels like it's going to be a beautiful, happy ending. Um, and except for then, Sam is like, okay, now that we've helped you, like, let's make an alliance and we can share technology. And Togar's like, bye, and kicks them out. And they go back to the gate room. And it turns out they've been gone for another 10 hours.
And they don't remember any of it. How do we keep losing our memory? Like, I want an explanation.
Good luck, you'll never get one.
And Tor. Tor's the writer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I want you to call Peter and Tor and get me an answer.
Great. I will probably not have the ability to do that.
It's fine.
I do have some trivia about this episode.
Ooh, very exciting.
And some of it is some of my favorite trivia ever. If my phone will unlock, that'd be so lovely. This one is so random, but at one point during the episode, Ergo looks at Jack and says, "Who is Mary Steenburgen?"
Mm-hmm.
Mary Steenburgen is an actress who, if you don't know the name, she is the mom from Step Brothers, so you definitely know her face. And weird,
a lot of things, though.
yes, but like that's the thing I immediately think of.
Not it.
But apparently, at one point, Richard Dean Anderson changed his voicemail box when you called him to just say, "This is Mary Steenburgen, please leave a message." He had never met her at the point that he did that. And there will be more random Mary Steenburgen references in Stargate. It's a very weird thing. I have no idea what.
That's so fun.
I have no idea why or
Well, that's like, did you watch what's his face? Baby J. What am I trying to say? The comedian that I love that I've been talking about for 17 years. The guy.
the new John Mulaney special?
Thank you. Yes. Did you watch it?
I haven't watched the new John Mulaney special yet.
This doesn't give it away, but there's a bit where he was talking about Pete Davidson changes his number all the time. And so he started just putting random celebrities as the name. And like while he was in rehab, he had it set to Al Pacino. And so Al Pacino looked like he was calling him while he was in rehab. And that's what that makes me think of. That's so funny.
It's amazing. Dom DeLuise is obviously the father of the director of the episode and fellow guest cast member. We'll get to that in a second. But Dom's other sons, Michael and David, also appear in other episodes of Stargate. It is a family affair.
Love that.
In the scene where Ergo is trying to make himself more handsome for them so that they maybe want to keep him in their brain, when he says, "Look, I can be beautiful too," that is Peter, his son.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
I was wondering who that was.
Yeah. Also, Dom ad-libbed 90% of the lines of this episode. He just said shit.
That makes sense. That feels right.
Which also leads to my favorite thing about this altogether, because you will notice You might not have noticed because I only noticed it because I knew it ahead of time. But in all of the scenes where all of SG-1 is there, almost all of the group shots do not include Teal'c. Teal'c is only on screen when he is talking or when he is necessary.
I did not notice.
But now that you go back and think about it, do you see?
Yeah.
This is because Christopher Jackson could not keep his shit together, and he laughed so hard at everything Dom DeLuise did that they had to write Teal'c out of some scenes because he literally could not handle himself.
So funny. Oh God, I love that. I love that.
He was supposed to have way more lines, and half of his lines were given to the other cast members because he just couldn't be on set because he could not play Teal'c because he was laughing so fucking hard at everything that happened.
Ugh, I love that. That would also be me, but I love that.
Yeah, so that's my favorite. My favorite. Just like because Christopher, and it wasn't like they were like you have to leave. He went to the writers and he was like, guys, I cannot fucking do this, and they made a mutual decision to limit Teal'c in this episode for the integrity of the episode. And there are two moments. There are two moments in the episode where I caught either Teal'c or a background actor cracking. There is one scene, the defibrillator scene.
Mm-hmm.
No one is supposed to be able to see Ergo, and Janet, Terrell Rothery, baby gem that she is not breaking at all. She is not reacting at all. The airman who's standing guard in the infirmary he cannot keep a straight face. He is trying so fucking hard to not laugh, but Dom DeLuise is just saying fucking random shit. And so he's like nonsense. He's like trying to make it look like he's itching his face. It was amazing.
That's so funny. Oh, love that.
So
best episode of the not connected episodes.
I do think it's plot-wise, it's not a great episode, to be fair.
Right.
It is what it is. It's just a random one-off weird sci-fi thing. And like I hate to say it's the best written episode because it's not, because it's just Dom DeLuise's ad-libbing that is amazing. Right. But if I'm gonna have to watch an episode that doesn't actually have anything to do with where we're going with the show, please always give me something to like unnecessarily laugh at for no reason.
Right. Yes. I agree.
So with that said, who do you want to punch in the face?
For Alexander for not telling me why they lost a memory. No one else really bothered me this episode. That's the only thing that I'm like, why? Why is this happening?
That's true. I am gonna go with Togar because no one actually bothered me, but like he was being a little bit of a bitch about they're like, why don't you just like go see things for yourself? And he's like, ew, why would I do that when I could just like put technology in other people's brains and have them do it for me?
Right.
Questionable. Who is your MVP?
Dom DeLuise. Not the character, just Dom DeLuise as a person. I mean, character's great too, but 100%.
Yeah, I also gave mine to a person and not a character, and I gave mine to Terrell Rothery for just being able to do all of these scenes with Ergo sitting directly next to her and not even a little bit reacting. Because I cannot imagine keeping it together as well as she did.
I absolutely would not. I'm the worst at keeping it together and stuff like that.
No, her ability to just pretend that the funniest shit ever is not happening directly next to her. Too much. Too much. I can't. So that is our one weird little standalone episode there. Do you have any thoughts or
I have no thoughts. This is what, episode 16, so we have like 6 more left. I don't know what's about to happen. I feel like we settled with Scar, so I don't think we're coming right back to him by any means. Maybe we'll get another Apophis episode where we'll see what he's about. Probably not, though. Probably something random. Maybe they're trying to set it up for the next season.
Maybe.
I don't know. I have so many, like, non-committal thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. I will tell you right now that the next episode does not take us back to the main plot.
Yeah, yeah, that tracks.
So
Tracks.
I don't remember it well enough to give you a real good teaser, and you and I are not recording again for a while.
7 years.
So I don't have more than that, but I do know it is not going to take us back to the main plot of the episode. So but they always kind of do that. It's the weird, like, so there's like the beginning of the season, then there's like a weird slump, and then there's the middle of the
Yeah,
season where everything gets ramped up, and then there's a weird slump, and then they ramp up to the finale. We're in that weird slump. So I think it's gonna be
yeah,
like another episode or two that are
or
kind of
two.
off
Yeah,
that, and then we'll get into the big stuff. So I'm not unsurprised by the fact that this episode and the next one are both kind of throwaways. But I
yeah.
don't
And go
think
ahead
I don't
and let our friends know we have 6 more weeks before we do our wrap up. So maybe we'll have a guest star for this one.
maybe I'll have to look at the calendar and figure out when that is. And let him know. He got mad at me for doing it on a Saturday again. He was like, "You could just stay here and I'll record it with you." And I was like, "You have a track me in the morning." So no, I can't.
Look, we'll get there. Well, it's fine. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, if you would like to tell us how much you love Dom DeLuise or give us ideas for what the random non sequitur episodes could potentially be about, because I would love to hear some weird shit that you think the Stargate team should get up to, please send us an email at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can also find me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
You can also find us everywhere on social media.
That's
At
the
Death
other
and
thing.
Aliens.
I knew I was missing something. I was like, this feels like a shorter intro. What am I
Yeah,
doing? But I got distracted by my wine. And
I
so yeah,
noticed.
Death
Yeah,
and
so you can
Aliens.
find us everywhere. But you can also find me at CE Cloud 13.
And with that, we will see you on Thursday for a
A
very
rough
interesting,
episode.
a rough episode.
Sorry, guys.
Just tread carefully ahead. Just if you've already seen American Horror Story, you probably know what we're talking about. But if you
If you
have
haven't, maybe
not,
read the description before you watch it.
yeah, if you haven't and you are watching along with us, you might want to check for sensitivities before you go into it because it is not going to be easy. But yeah, so we will see you on Thursday.
See ya.
Bye.